it going, everybody? Well, my wife and I went on an amazing trip, and we just got back this past weekend. Today's Friday, and so we got back on Sunday, and I got sick, and my plans of getting videos and stuff loaded up were kind of derailed, and I could barely talk, and so I still am under the weather, but I'm feeling better. So I wanted to do a little quick intro, before I post a video, just to kind of go over some stuff that might clear some things up and whatnot. My wife and I had the opportunity to go on a family trip with my mom and dad, and it was, for them, it was vacation, but for me, I knew it was going to be just an awesome adventure. But we had the opportunity to go to Alaska. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would get to go and see an area in a place like this. And so it's a real blessing and a privilege for me to be able to sit here and talk to you about it, and then to share these videos. So it was kind of a unique adventure trip, because it wasn't just split up, or it wasn't just the typical drive somewhere and leave for vacation and then come home. We had to do a lot of stuff to actually get to Alaska, and it was just the way that we had chosen to do it. So we left on May 4th and returned on May 15th, late that night. And what we did was, my parents drove from Arkansas here to Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we then flew Wednesday the 5th to Seattle, Washington. Got there in the early afternoon, probably before lunch, I think, and spent the day there, and then stayed in a hotel. And then the next morning, we took an Uber to the Amtrak station and did about a 3.5 hour, maybe 4 hour train ride from Seattle to Vancouver, Canada. And from Vancouver, it was an immediate get off the train and take another Uber ride to the cruise ship. And we went through Norwegian Cruise Line, and didn't realize until after coming back that this was the last trip of this kind that this specific cruise line, Norwegian Cruise Line, was offering, because the ship that we were on was actually a relocation ship, and it had been sailing from Miami since like the middle of April. And there were actually people that left on the ship in Miami and have been on there for like 60 days straight. Just a crazy epic cruise, and I don't know if I could do that. But anyway, so we got on the ship, and then we're on the ship for 10 days. And we stopped at all kinds of places in Alaska and had plenty of time at each stop to do pretty much whatever you wanted. The last day before porting, the last full day, we stopped in Canada again, in Victoria, and then left late that night at like midnight, because Victoria is really close to where we were porting when we ported in Seattle. So then we got back on a plane once we got in Seattle, and flew from Seattle back to Dallas, and got back here to Dallas, late that night. So there was a lot of moving parts and stuff, and as far as the stuff that I enjoy and being outdoors and all that, there's a lot of planning and thinking on my end as far as what I could and could not take and whatnot. So, and that might be a separate video or something that I could do if people are interested. I wanted to go over this real quick to just kind of clear some stuff up. I know I don't sound that excited and all that, but it's just because I am sick. So I wrote down some notes and stuff. So our first stop was in Seattle. And the first thing I thought about when I knew that we were going to be leaving or landing in Seattle and then leaving from Seattle to doing the train ride was I got to meet my buddy Nathan Mayfield. I've been friends with Nathan for a long time now, and I talk to him every day, either text message, phone calls, whatever. And he's just a really good and dear friend to me. And so we had correlated together before, and we had plenty of time because we landed at 10:45, 11 o'clock in Seattle. Got to our hotel, and Nathan drove down and met us in downtown Seattle, and we spent the day with him. And he showed us around and took us to different places. And then my parents kind of got tired and wanted to go back and rest, so we went back to the hotel. And then my wife and I went back out again later that night with Nathan. And man, it was just amazing. He is just such an awesome guy, and I had just the best time. It felt like we had been hanging out and been friends for our whole lives, and that was my first time to meet him in person. So once again, another amazing opportunity that was given to me from just this community, the outdoors community, and social media, and how you can really connect with people through the social media and build a friendship. So we had a lot of fun, man. He showed us all kinds of stuff. We went into a cool stores and just saw a lot of neat stuff. So got to spend some one-on-one time with them, hanging out in the park and laughing and joking, and it was just amazing. Seattle was a really cool city. I didn't realize how industrial it was and how many of the just the factories and warehouses and shipping containers and all that were there. Being able to go through you'll see the Pike's Place Market was really cool. So many cool handmade craft goods of just local Seattle, residents that hand carve, wooden objects. Or there was an older man there that made clay ocarina pipes that you could play, and he actually had them tuned and keyed to where he gave you a music notebook, and you could learn different songs. Really hard not to spend a lot of money there. The fish market was amazing. We tried some amazing handmade donuts where they would just drop a donut ball into a deep fryer and coat it with powdered sugar or cinnamon sugar, whatever you wanted. Some really good food. We went to a crab shack that had a big spread. My mom and I just destroyed that. We both love seafood. Just a great time, a really great time. My wife and I have already said we'd love to go back to Seattle and just spend, a long weekend, a 4-day weekend there, and go to the different areas and see the Olympic Peninsula and all that. So Seattle was awesome. I'd go back just to that city. So unfortunately, we had a pretty tight schedule. So next morning we woke up early, real early, and got on the train and did the Amtrak ride. It was awesome, but compared to what I later saw, it probably would have been easier to just go straight to Vancouver somehow, just because it just you'll see in the videos. But so we did the Amtrak ride. There was at one point where we were literally on the railway going by the coast, and the coast was right to our left. I mean, not even 20 feet away from the railway, and we must have seen probably over 40 bald eagles all on the coast. The tide was out, and there was every rock that was visible. There was an eagle standing on it. There was eagles on the shoreline, eagles flying above, eagles on rock barges and sandbars. It was crazy. All kinds of juveniles, the full-blown white-tailed eagles. It was awesome. So landed, or we got off the train, took an Uber ride through Vancouver, went through the Chinatown part of Vancouver, and then got into the upper, the fancier looking area of Vancouver, I guess, where our ship was, and man, customs was pretty hard there because we didn't realize that we'd be going through both Vancouver or Canadian customs and U.S. customs, and then they had a big problem and got overwhelmed because there were two ships leaving at the exact same time, and people were going into the wrong, going through the wrong cruise lines porting areas, and man, it was a mess. We sat around for a long time and got pretty tired, and we didn't have a lot of sleep from the night before. But we ran into uh, we ran into a group of ladies that were older than Jessica and I. My parents were there with us too, and they were from the United Kingdom, and they were just hilarious. Their sense of humor and everything, it really helped pass the time. And at the very end, as we were filling out these forms asking if we had been sick lately and if we'd ever been, had blah, blah, blah. It's just the standard stuff you fill out when you're getting onto the cruise ship. I happened to glance over to one of the ladies sitting next to my right that, was from the UK, and I saw that her last name was Burton. And so I asked, hey, your last name's Burton too? And she said yes, and all of them were all Burtons. So apparently we're somehow connected to these hilariously funny United Kingdom residents that just were really a blast. So we got on the ship and left Vancouver, and instantly you start seeing just beautiful, beautiful wilderness. Vancouver Island was off to our left, and we were going through the narrow passage, and I'll put a map up after I get through talking, and you can really look at all the stops we went to. But you're literally going through canals, not canals, they're pretty big passages, but you've got forest covered mountains on your right and forest covered Vancouver Island mountains on your left. And I was just mesmerized, that's when it started for me. It was awesome. So, sorry, it really is something that just really, it really moved me getting to see that type of terrain that I've only ever seen on TV and different discovery shows, and it was awesome. And then I got to be a part of it and see it. And yeah, I was on a ship, and yeah, it was vacation, but it wasn't like your Bahama beach cruises. Like, this wasn't a party ship. There wasn't people staying up all hours of the night, partying and acting crazy and being loud. It was way more of a mature people understanding that what we were seeing was to be taken in and not to be taken advantage of. And it was awesome. So we went through the night, and our first stop was Juneau, Alaska. And on that trip, we did an excursion and had a blast there. I don't want to go into it too much because of reasons I'll tell you here at the end. Next day, we went to Skagway, Alaska. The next day, we went to Sitka, Alaska. And then we had a day where we didn't get off the ship, but we actually went into Glacier Bay. And the Glacier Bay National State Park, or the National Park, sorry. And went all through all the inlets and saw multiple glaciers, and just had a day taking our time. The weather was beautiful, and so the captain of the ship actually spent more time than what we were supposed to doing it, because it was rare to get that kind of weather. And then the next day, we actually got on land, and it was at Icy Strait Point, Alaska. And then we had Ketchikan, Alaska, the day after that. And then I think we had a day on the water, And then, like I said, our last day, full day, was at Victoria, Canada. And then we left, late that night, and then ported in Seattle the next day. So the reason why I'm going to wrap this up real quick, because I actually have a video to show you after this. The reason why I just kind of breezed through that last part is because my wife and I decided that, well, let me back up. I breezed through that last part because I took over 250 video clips on this trip. So, and some of those might have only been, 10 seconds long, and some of them might have been 20 minutes long. So that's a ton of footage. And it's actually was kind of a blessing in disguise of not feeling well, because I've had time now to go through all of the video and really just enjoy it and go back and reflect on it and watch it and see what I want to show and what I want to keep for myself. And so with all that, I'm breaking this up into about 6 or 7 different videos, and each one will be titled Alaska 2016 and then the stop. And I'll put them all on a playlist so that you can just, watch them all together if you want. And I wanted to do this intro to just give you an overview of what we did, or our layout of the trip. And then my wife and I decided that since this trip impacted her and I so much, because we're younger, and this was a big opportunity and a big blessing for us. I mean, there were people there that were at least in their 70s, 80s, that had the same look of awe on their face that we did. And you could tell that was their first time to see that. And so that made it special for us, because we kind of got to understand how great of a trip this was, that some people don't get to experience until so much later in their life. And so with that, we wanted to do a final thoughts, our experiences video after I put out all of our stops. So you'll see all the footage and all the amazing stops and different things that we've done. And then we'll do a sit down thing kind of like this, where she'll have different topics that she thought were interesting and wants to share, and that she might have learned and experienced and what stood out to her. And then I'll have mine too, and we'll just kind of have a dialogue and a conversation so that you can really kind of see what it's like. Because I know there's people that won't ever get to do this, and so I kind of feel responsible to do my best to bring those people with me and to show them just how amazing of a trip it is. And then it's also a good chance for people that do plan on doing this to kind of get their feet wet and have someone that went through it, and what we learned and what you shouldn't have done and what we did wrong and that kind of stuff. And it'll kind of be a guidebook for you. So this has gone on way longer, but it's just so exciting. I mean, I was able to purchase some really cool stuff. I'll do another video on that and just going over the things that I brought back with me. And man, it was just amazing. I won't ever forget it, and I miss it already. I mean, I truly miss it. It was just incredible. So I'll put up the Seattle video with this one. I'll put them together and start uploading those videos for you. So a lot of the questions that you may have, I'm sure we won't answer all of them, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the stuff that you'll see that you might wonder what's going on there, why did he film that, we'll cover it in that discussion video at the end of the series. So thank you everybody for watching. Oh, and when I was gone, I was blessed to have a lot of new subscribers to my channel. Thank you everybody. That I'm over 700 subscribers now. that's unreal, you know. So thank you so much for doing that and for watching the videos, and I hope this is something that's new and refreshing, that keeps you intrigued. And yeah, thanks for subbing and making me a part of your YouTube live. So enjoy the videos, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Are you?
He looks like an AJ.
Woohoo!
We made it. All of our luggage.
Minus a few items.
So we're going to best restaurant Pioneer Square.
Yes.
Hold on to the rope.
Oh, now this one, oh, this is going this way. Oh, y'all turn around, go the other way.
Some of them are still thinking.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's funny.
well, that's so next time you come back, maybe this one is gone. It's gonna be beautiful waterfront. You know?
That's total YouTube gold.
Okay, we need to get.
I gotta have a picture. Oh,
We're here!
You're welcome, sir.
That looks pretty heavy. That's a big fish.
Marching on, glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory,
It's a frenzy. Whatever it is, it's ninja.
We couldn't figure it out. It was a he-she that was...
Look at dude sleeping.
This guy's been asleep for about 2 months.
He's sleeping anywhere.
Just sleeping for 2 months, and
Like, I want to come back to Seattle and like stay here for a week and just wander around.
wanted to take you to the ice caves, I think that would be really cool.
Ice caves.
It's a glacier.
What?
Snow that never melts. So you just kind of in these caves, but you don't walk into them because last year's gonna die. You don't walk inside them, but you walk up to them, and it feels like a freeze. Cold air is just constantly blowing out. There's a waterfall.
That's awesome. Look at those elephants that's carved out of ivory.
Look at the peacock earrings.
Look at that. How did they do that?
Butterfly and peacock earrings. Is this the only set here? Actually turned into a decent day.
It really did.
Now when I woke up, it was raining.
All right, we're leaving Seattle. 6:20 in the morning. Gotta head to the Amtrak station, go through TSA crap again, and head to Vancouver. So, what was everyone's thoughts on Seattle?
Loved it. Coming back.
What'd you like the best?
I think just walking up and down all the streets, and of course Pike's Place, and there's coffee everywhere, which I love.
That's a really good thing.
I love the old world feel.
Okay.
The what?
The what?
Old world,
When did we go there?
like Hot
Old
Springs.
world feel.
Oh,
Like
okay.
Hot Springs
Yeah,
in
the
San
feel.
Like you have kind of the older buildings.
Yeah, older buildings. And great. Well, hopefully we won't get reamed by TSA again and they won't steal everything from us, but waiting on the cab and we're heading out. City is coming to life. Everybody has backpacks here too. Everybody. Backpacks and bicycles. That's what you do in Seattle. We are in the train.
Amtrak Cascade.
We made it! It almost fell over.
Restroom. Right here.